Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I am your host. And joining me this week is my go-to podcast compadre and co-host, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how are you doing, pal?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. Mr. Joe Lever at your service, pal.
Oh, thank you. It's so good. It refreshes my heart. Yes. Thank you.
Happy Monday.
Oh, yes.
We have a day off.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day. And someone was talking about this IRL, or in the real world, but I should say in real life, because people are gonna be like, L is not W. But it's so weird, Memorial Day here. For people who don't live in the United States, and this podcast is not about talking about Memorial Day or holidays and stuff. We talk about games, movies, TV shows, stuff. But Memorial Day it should be more of a somber day, but around here, like every holiday, it's like the big Memorial Day sales and like barbecue, and it's fun. But like this should be probably one of the most somber days.
It's kind of like the United States Day kind of a thing. I mean, it's similar, right?
But it's worse because it's for the people who have fallen in battle. Like,
and here we are all busting out 12 packs and
you look at
camping.
I guess our last major conflict, major conflict was with Iraq and all the Middle East stuff. But then I think back to even further, and you're like, okay, so you've got like the Gulf. And then you've got Vietnam, and then for me it always goes back to like World War II, so there's like kind of like a gap in between there where there was like a time period. But
Korean War,
I feel like you have like a couple of years after some of these big bad things, and then you just look at these holidays that are supposed to be like to memorialize these bad things, but then it's just like, now we're having fun, the start of summer, like it's like it probably shouldn't. Like July 4th should be that, we're like, yeah, we're America. I still love you, Britain, you're our greatest ally, hilariously. How did that flip? Am I right? It's just like, we're all pals now. Anyway, not that we need to belabor that point at all. I wonder how many people are still listening. Who knows? But anyway, thank you guys for dropping by. Like I said, we're talking about all things in pop culture this week. Because Levi's not here this week and we don't have a ton of news, we're just kind of going to go with the flow. We have a few things we want to talk about, more broad topics. But one thing we wanted to start with, because Joe brought this to my attention, talking about EA and their games as a service. Some strange stuff's going on there. Usually with games as a service, that like there's player bases that are consistently playing games and they're coming back, weekly, if not daily, to check back in. However, with a few of the titles that EA has out right now in that, stratosphere, I shouldn't even use the word stratosphere because they're on the ground for sure. It sounds like they're suffering. And EA, the ones, Joe, that you mentioned from them right now, Apex Legends, we're still not really sure. I don't know what their numbers are nowadays, but the one that you brought up again was Anthem.
Yeah, Anthem player base invisible or disappeared, one or the other.
And it's sad because like Anthem, honestly, for me was like my most anticipated game of this year. It really was. And I tried for like, even a few weeks ago, I was still like popping in. I was telling Joe beforehand, like I would hop in, I'd play like a stronghold or two. I wouldn't get any drops of any like really good items. I'd have people dropping in and out. I would spawn into like the strongholds, like these end game things by myself, and I'd have to wait for people to show up. And like some people would stay, some people would leave, so I'd just be waiting there. And then if you play on the higher level difficulties, even with the good gear, like you still need to work with other people that don't exist. So it's like, I'm not like my little storm. I'm like trying to blow everything up by myself, and just their shields are like going down just so slowly. I'm like, there's no way. If I can't get past the starting area by myself, it's not going to happen. So I don't know, Joe, what would you do to like revitalize this?
Well, first of all, I think the people that invested need something, I guess, what's the word? Need a little gift of, hey, we're sorry, but give us another try. We've added this for you as a bonus because you bought in the first place, and give us another try. Here's some new content and more to do. Maybe, I don't know, game modes of some sort, something to make it more not repetitive.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but you reach a certain point in that game, and even before I reached max cap level, and I'm still not max power by any means, but
neither am I.
You get to that level 30, and you're just kind of like, I'm just tapping my fingers on the table, illustrating my boredom. But that's essentially how it gets. I mean, I think some people knock the gameplay. I think the gameplay is kind of okay. Or not even that. It's good. It really is. I mean,
like it.
the javelin, the way it functions, the way you can fly around, the shooting mechanics. I feel like there could be a little more precision in that, but I think for the way the game is played or your goals, it works well for that. It's not like you need precision targeting by any means. It's not a Twitch shooter.
It's cathartic. It's like got this rhythm to it when you're playing. Like you can just kind of zone out and you're like, I'm blowing stuff up.
It does, and your abilities really help accentuate that and whatnot. And style-wise, it's cool. Yeah. I wish it was. They should offer a lot more cosmetics. I get a little sick of, I've got 2 body types to choose from on my javelin. Where, but you could have this one, which isn't even that great. It's kind of ugly, but you could have this for 60,000 shards or whatever. It's like, yeah, it takes a lot of game time to get that, and you don't have people playing enough to get it. And then if you get it, are you going to keep playing?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they have an issue with the carrot and the stick. And even I like to compare it to like Division, and Division 2 did really well. I think it's because Division had a decent base on it. It just had some issues, like the Dark Zone wasn't super like refined, and that got kind of old. At least for us, it did. But I think they took all that stuff and they learned from it, and then they made Division 1 good. And so they had like a revitalization of the player base, like you said, Joe, where they kind of like got people back in, and then they're like, oh, we're doing Division 2. I feel like that's what they have to do with this. They need to be like, hey man, here's all this free stuff. If you bought it, it's coming. All this free stuff's coming, and you get a ton of all the armor for the last 2 months that you saw. That's all yours. Don't even worry about it.
And another thing that the Division had going for it is, it had a big open-ish world map. Lots of nooks and crannies and that sort of thing to explore. You couldn't necessarily memorize it to a T every nook and cranny. Whereas Anthem, they made this big world, but you can cover it pretty quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's not much in it too. That's the problem. You like find random events, but you're just like, I'm flying through a pretty world. Granted, it is very pretty, but it's still just like, yep, here I am.
Yeah, and nothing to really do within it. And those world events will pop up, and then sometimes it'll just disappear. You'll be in the midst of a fight, and the chest pops up, and there's still people that you're trying to shoot, and they just vanish.
Yeah,
you did good enough. We decided to give you a cut to the chase. Here's your chest.
And then there's usually nothing in there that you want anyway, and you're like, great, it's a bunch of stuff that's lower than what I have, and it's like, it just seems just so flawed. It's so sad because like it could be so cool. There's no aerial combat, and like I feel like that would have been a no-brainer. And despite all my little qualms with it, like we're kind of talking about the open world kind of being boring, I think there's a cool base there. I just think they need to do a better job of incentivizing me to just come back, not only for like armor and stuff, but like they didn't even do like skill trees. I'm not really building towards anything. I'm randomly hoping to get like, for instance, on my storm, I'm going to get like a masterwork fireball spell or whatever.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how to do that. Like, do I use the crap one for a while and hope that the game's like, hey, he's using that one, let's give him a good drop? Like, like that is so frustrating because I can't even like curtail my build to anything. I just have to get what I like get and then try to build from that, even if it's something I don't like or want. It's like, come on. It's like, oh, there's ways to craft stuff, but not craft the item I want. It's like, like
I feel like I can never craft anything worthwhile.
Yeah, and we're crafting like the stupid little things to like boost us for the mission where it's like, hey, you've got like 20% more shields on this mission. First off, that is like the slimmed down version of Monster Hunter. Second off, there's no cool flair to it. Like they could have done like a little Iron Man scene where they're like, hey, if you put these things on, we do a little animation where they like put the shield augment into your arm, or like place it in there, like how the palicos are serving you flipping food, and it's fun every time.
Bro, the details.
That's why it's like...
Not to mention that Codex or Cortex. What the hell? Like, I'm going to go read a story every time I pick something up.
Like, I'm glad it's in the game. I know we joked about that with, like, Destiny, and they're like, go online to figure out about this. But at the same time, they're like, add to the Cortex, and you're like, you add it, and then it's like this huge thing of text, and you're like, yeah, no. And, like, now the fort is just this horrible, sad like menu screen that you can just skip now. You like load into the game and you can like hit and hold a button and go right to the forge and just like go on missions. So it's like
Yeah.
this cool world that they built is just, they know now that people are like, yeah, this is dumb, and I don't want to have any lore context because I don't care about anything. Like they didn't make us care because the mission structure is so boring. It's like, go here, kill these 5 things, be done, or go here, collect these orbs and bring them over here and you're done. It's like, gotta give me something. Give me anything.
The
At
story wasn't the worst thing. Like, as you went through the missions for the story, it wasn't the worst, but it could have been. I don't know. Do we want it to be longer? I know it's hard to do. I mean, each one of those missions is work, but
like, think of the one where, and this is kind of a spoiler for the game, but the one that I always go back to is the one where they go and there's this guy narrating and you go through the trials of General Tarsus.
yeah.
And they talk about that, and there's like these cool, like this cool metal, like ash cinematic when you go into the next thing and you fight these things, and he's narrating over. It's really epic and story driven. I wish they would have done like half the amount of missions, but all of them like that. And like that would have been like, okay, so they don't want you to burn through the content. And now because we're complaining about them as a games as a service, because right now they haven't added anything besides this new stronghold that you play a few times, and I've played it probably 3 or 4 times, maybe even more than that, just because I was kind of running through quickly. But then it's like, okay, I'm not getting the drops I want, and there's not enough people to play, so I get in there and I'm like, I'm playing this alone now, or people just leave, or I get kicked, and it's just like, we got to figure, like, a stronghold isn't gonna help, bring us back and keep us coming back. Like,
exactly,
it's not enough. Like, you need to do more than that. And I don't think they get the games as a service model. And again, I look back at Monster Hunter, that isn't necessarily games as a service. It's like they tried to do what Monster Hunter did. They're like, hey, it's $60 and here's our roadmap. But now they've kind of like taken the roadmap down. It's like, we're not gonna do that. Monster Hunter, we didn't know all this stuff was coming. They're like, hey, here's like hundreds of hours of fun, diverse gameplay. And I know that they're very different games. I know that like hunting and fighting a monster is very different than like attacking like 50 Scar or whatever. But there's something about Monster Hunter that it's different every time. They don't have that type of cool calculus over in Anthem that like if you did the mission like 5 times because they want you to redo the missions, that it's going to be different. Like the enemy types are going to do something crazy, or something maybe would spawn in that didn't spawn in the last time. Like an Ash Titan would just show up. Like, whoa, that doesn't happen. But like Monster Hunter has that, and then they're like, hey, guess what? Do you like Witcher? Here's a free update of a mission, and you get to play as Geralt and stuff. And you're like, what? Like they just like, here you go. Here's all this free stuff. Here, more for you. You like this? Here's more. But they had a base. They had 15 or 10 years to build on Monster Hunter, but they knew how to do it. Anthem, they had all the resources. BioWare is a really good company who knows how to make great games. But EA, I don't know who screwed it up. And like now it's not only that, but like we're talking about Apex. Who's talking about Apex? Is anyone playing it anymore? I don't know who's playing it. Joe, are you playing Apex?
Not really. Not really. But Apex, all right, let's go down like a top 100. The most played games right now for Microsoft. Fortnite, obviously number 1, which I don't understand. There's a lot of little kids, I guess.
I think it's just the player base is so big now that they just like, no matter what update they do, like they did the Avengers one recently, and it's just like people are like, ah.
Dude, I've tried Fortnite. It just doesn't have a good feel to it.
I agree.
I feel like it's kind of clunky-ish and lame, but so number 1, as per usual, NBA 2K19 doesn't surprise me given where we're at with the actual NBA season. Then Rainbow Six Siege, which has been like a rising star and has kind of hovered in that top 10 for a long time, surprisingly.
Like, that's the thing with Ubisoft, though. They don't give up like these other companies. Like, I feel like with EA, kind of like Rainbow Six Siege didn't have a great launch, and neither did like Division after a while. But they're like, no, we're not giving up. Or even For Honor, they're like, we're gonna keep putting stuff into this game, and then like that game it will rise. Like they're just putting fuel into that air balloon, and it's just like, there it goes. Like, that's cool to hear Rainbow Six Siege is on the top 100 of that. That's
so. Some of these are definitely fueled by younger demographics, but you'll see as I go through. So That was number 3. Number 4 is Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Not too surprising with Blackout. I think that it's still holding fairly steady, and there's some popularity around it. A lot of YouTube content and whatnot. It's the Call of Duty diehards, right?
Yeah.
I guess I consider myself one of them since this one came out. Past renditions, not so much since Black Ops 1, but
Side note quick, Joe, did you hear about what's happening with the next Call of Duty?
we'll get into that.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. I don't know details yet, but I know it's a news item. So, but yeah, it's still going. I think there's a lot of I think the demographic there, like 20 to 30, people enjoy that maybe more adult shooter, similar to Rainbow Six. So I'm not surprised those two are top 5. Then number 5 is Apex Legends. I know there's still some popularity around that. I guess that's a personal preference, whether you prefer that type of shooter to like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield, but it just never hit home for me. I think it's too, I don't know. It's kind of in that Fortnite group for me right now, unfortunately. But, it's a battle royale. They're popular now. People like that competitive atmosphere. So it'll probably continue to do all right. I don't know if they've done any major updates to that game. I know characters have come out and whatnot, but like has the map changed at all?
I don't know. I know that was one thing I think they were planning on doing. I think that's you kind of have to with battle royales now. Is like you say, hey, here's our base map for like the first month or two, and then you're like, hey, we turned this part into mud, or make it so that way it's nice for the people who play like you all the time, but then it's also inviting to newcomers that it's not like they know every little detail because something's always shifting and always changing, so you can kind of get in at any time.
Well, like in Call of Duty's done a good job of that. Like every other Tuesday, there's some sort of update. Sometimes, month to month, you'll get a larger one, which is good. I don't like how PlayStation gets it before Xbox, but I get that they signed the deal and all that. Good on you, Sony. But yeah, I don't know. And the cosmetics that they keep dishing out are fun, and people love that sort of shit. It doesn't matter. and they're making money off of all of it because. Yeah, if you want to look cool and play cool, look good, feel good, play good. Yeah.
That's the thing. One thing I'm going to let you keep going at this, but that's what Anthem really needed to do is like make just like the sexiest looking armor sets, like and give you a couple of them for free, but just being like, hey man, I got to get back in the game to try this out because now I look just almost like Iron Man, like copyright infringement levels, like being like, yeah, I'm looking pretty good.
Something of that nature, Hulkbuster armor for the Colossus.
Or get a deal. If Fortnite could do this, like I gotta imagine EA with their like ties to Star Wars and Disney, like there would be something that they could do. Like maybe their Marvel stuff is tied up somewhere else, but still like anything, any partnership to be like, here you go, like, or Gundam even, like, come on.
The customization, they're like, add some weapon customization for crying out loud.
Thank God the guns, you're right, like it's like, oh, this is the best gun, but it's blue, yellow, and white. I'm like, I can't even change the paint on it. Like
it looks cool. How it is how it is.
Like look at Ghost Recon. Why doesn't every game have a gunsmith? Even if you couldn't manipulate the actual, like, oh, it's overgassed or undergassed or whatever, like, just give us a few options of the stocks, the muzzle, like
something. But yeah, I don't know. Apex Legends, I mean, I'm not very keen on it, but I mean, I get it, right? So good on you, EA. You got one thing that you introduced for free, and it was just a simple battle royale. Good job. I guess that's what's keeping you afloat right now. I kid. All right, Grand Theft Auto 5. I think that's like that. How long has that been out now?
And that's 6th? And this is Microsoft. Is it on Twitch or just in general?
Most played. So it's in order 1 to 100. Most played.
That game is now. I think it's still those people who are playing, the GTA Online, and then they'll buy like the new copies, and then they're just like to get like the money in the game. But it's so nuts. Like it just shows how good Rockstar is with specifically Grand Theft Auto that there's cool enough stuff in there for people to still be playing it. Like
and I mean there is. I mean, and the fact that it's so unending. And the randomness and the angst you can get into and whatnot if you have a committed group or that sort of thing. But I feel like if I went back in there right now and started playing online, I'd just get my ass handed to me by randos all the time for no reason.
Yep.
So,
Completely agree
but
with you.
that's why I was so excited for Red Dead, and something that we need to get back into.
I know.
But we'll get back to it. Roblox. I don't even know what that is. It looks like Lego people doing something. I don't know. It looks like something for the more childish demographic. No offense.
No, it's okay. They know what they're playing towards, right? And they're doing well. So good on them.
Minecraft. I don't get it, but good on them.
Creative. People still playing it.
Yeah. I don't know.
You could build anything.
Yeah,
Joe.
what's the goal though? You build something, okay?
No goal, just to be creative, have fun,
Yeah,
build like a little house
which,
underground.
To me, that really impresses me that it's still so prominent. But all right, so we've gone through the top 8. 9th is Red Dead Redemption 2, and Rockstar, as per expected, is putting in updates, adding this and that, making most recently they made the missions and stuff more available and online and more worthwhile. So they're starting to support that a little bit like GTA, which kind of entices me. I really would like to get back in there because that was a sexy game. It was a good game. It's a shame it's been a while, but
well, it's a game that respects the player because at the get-go, it's like, here is this incredibly detailed, story-rich single-player campaign that feels so lived in, and then they're like, hey, here's this multiplayer game that like it pales in comparison to the living nature of that single player story where little events happen all the time, but it's still amazingly detailed and beautiful. It's the same world, but like just like your guns and playing with all that stuff and like grouping up and doing these little missions. It is very Grand Theft Auto in execution, but it's still so good. Like it feels so good.
And there's something about doing it as an old Western type of deal that makes it kind of more satisfying to me.
I just hate having to get paired up with dumb randos in those 4-player missions. It's just like, guys, like it's like we could either do this quiet or we could do it loud. It's like idiots just like running up there with a gun, just going boom, boom.
Yeah, if only we had a 4th to run with, right? But
Haley.
Needless to say, that game it's legit. They did a good job on it. And they were smart in not releasing the online right away and kind of polishing it a bit more. I think we just hit that first little bit of a roadblock where it wasn't quite feeding that appetite yet. I feel now that they've got these updates, better missions, that sort of thing. They're supporting it well. Something to get back into, especially during the dry spell here this summer. There's not a hell of a lot on the map now.
If they do heists like they did in Grand Theft Auto, I remember like my problem with Grand Theft Auto has always been the controls, and the controls are still kind of wonky here. But I remember doing those big crazy heists where you had to like 2 people had to scuba dive and go into that building or whatever, go under like that kind of stuff was so cool. And I think like if you do that with a bank or like a train robbery or something as a 4-person group, that's a very appealing concept.
Which is what I've been hearing about more what's the word? Impactful missions. So
and they fixed the money stuff because remember we tried playing. It was like, how much do I have to get for a shotgun? And it was like every mission would give you like 20 cents, or it was something like crazy, like $1.20. It's like
I get that back then people were poor and all, but let me rob a train at least and get like a bunch of stuff so I can like at least be halfway towards buying a good gun.
Well, and then it's like you start thinking, oh, it's such a realistic game, but if I kill the gun owner at like the shop with all the guns, I can't take all the guns. So you got to give.
I totally understand. That's almost like cheating. Like I'm just gonna go take them all and I'm looted up and ready to go. I like to work towards something a little bit, but.
I get that too. I just like, then give us more money, which they totally did. And they gave us like, they have the 2. I hate online games that give you like multiple versions of currency. Anthem does it. Red Dead does it, where it's like, here's money, but here are gold bars. And it's like, God. I was like, guys, please don't.
If you want to jump ahead a little bit, buy these.
It's like, oh, if you want to get this upgrade, you have to have gold bars. It's like, how? My guy's carrying around like 20 gold bars. Like where? Like it was just like,
moving down the list, I think Red Dead, one that maybe you and I will come back to. And I get why it's in the top 10, sitting at number 9. Rocket League, which I've never played, but does look kind of fun.
It does. On the same boat. I've always looked at. I'm like, that does seem like a good time, but I've never played it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let's see.
Let's just do top 20. How about that?
Overwatch, number 11, bro.
Dang. Still good on them. And see, with Overwatch, they get it. New maps, new characters. Just keep it going.
Yeah, and one day I'll probably hop back in to see what it's like. See if I still got the juice.
I know I'm like, I won't go back to it, but there are times I saw a guy this past weekend, Joe, no kidding, had a Reaper shirt and an Overwatch wallet. And I was like, dude, nice Reaper shirt. And the moment he saw that, I like recognized that, he was like, oh, cool. I was like, do you main Reaper? He's like, no, nowadays I'm kind of going like Lucio or like support or whatever. And I was like, you're good. We need more people like you in this world. Like the fact that he was like, I'm going to be the healer. I was like, good on you, buddy. Like, yeah, Overwatch is such a fun game. Like it is literally just, it's fun to hop in and just like each character just feels good. That's what Apex needs. Apex doesn't have that like that really good feeling like Titanfall and Overwatch have. Yeah. That's what's missing.
I liked the game styles too, you know, the payloads or the point holds A and B, and then it was fun. It was competitive, but you had a good time doing it, and the variance character to character. We've talked about it enough, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it still has that appeal to me where I feel like I could get into it again and play some matches. But
I also like the player versus environment stuff they do once in a while. And how cool would it have been if they even had like a 5 or 8 hour campaign you could play with like certain characters? It would have been like, hey, you're going to be the old Blackwatch crew, and like somebody's Reaper, somebody's Widowmaker, and you have to go through this thing together. And there's like a ton of just like, people like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, what if one day they all of a sudden just spliced in a story?
I would be like back in a heartbeat. I'd be like, because Overwatch's stories what pulled me along, because like you'd load in and you'd have these like Morrison would be talking to Reaper and he's like, oh, like it's you, and he'd be like, yeah, you're here too, and it's like, I want to know more. I'm like, yeah, but Apex doesn't have that, like, or if they do, I haven't heard it. I'm just like,
yeah. Ark Survival Evolved.
Oh yeah, dinosaurs, taming dinosaurs. Who doesn't like doing that?
Yeah, I've never really seen much on it, but yeah,
it's not. I don't enjoy it. It's just boring. I don't like the survival games, Joe. It's like 8 different little meters. It's like you're very hot, or you're too cold, or you need to eat, and it's just like a lot of like, oh god.
No
like,
thanks. Well, so that's number 12. Number 13, Destiny 2. Believe it or not.
Like Division, man, they just kept pumping stuff into it.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 2, not totally surprised, but it's somewhat fresh right now. I'm sure.
11. 11 Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 11. Sorry,
I was like Mortal Kombat.
Thinking like of the new ones, you know.
Yeah.
But so then PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, still player based there, sitting at number 15.
Dude, look at that versus Fortnite though. If Fortnite's at 1 in PUBG, and this is for Microsoft only people, so remember that, but still.
Yeah. Madden 19, not totally surprised there. Madden will always every year to year have a good player base.
That's why EA, dude, that's why EA is still around, because their sports games are the best sports games, and people know it. FIFA and Madden, they just have to sell that every year. And
EA.
Yeah, just it's in the game. That's what they used to be. Was just they did other stuff, but still. Anyway, keep going.
Forza Horizon 4 is, of any racing game, that's really one of the only ones in the top 100, which does not really surprise me too much.
Yeah, beautiful game.
So that is number, what are we on?
14?
Hit 12 there, 13, 14, 15, 16 was Madden, 17 was Forza, 18, FIFA 19. Yeah, that's always been of the sports games, like the one that people make a lot of money at streaming and stuff. So 18, The Division 2. All right. Dauntless, haven't heard of that.
That is I think it's like a Monster Hunter type game.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So that was number 20, Dauntless.
Yep, free-to-play action role-playing.
Guess what number 21 is, Jimmy? It was a game that you got me and Drew into to start, and then Drew became like the guy for this game. Like, he was all in. I still like it. I haven't played it in quite some time.
Is it For Honor?
Yeah, bro.
Dude, that's so like And again, I will look into this once in a while. They're like, we've introduced a new character. And sometimes when they introduce a new one, I'm like, oh, so you just reskinned the one from the other faction and put him in here with like a claymore, basically. But
A little
that,
different look to them and makes them a little more fun. But I mean,
yeah, I enjoyed that game. I thought it was such a solid game. And yeah, Drew became like the guy. And
yeah,
like Titanfall, I was just straight up intimidated by it because I left it for a bit and I came back and I was like, the Shinobi, like that thing, it just run at me and it just an infinite combo. It felt like, and I was like, I don't even know what is he doing. He's doing this new type of block break thing. I was like, I'm sorry,
yeah.
guys, I'm out.
That's the problem with that game. Like, I love that game. I think it's great. It's the only thing where you get that kind of like medieval and the Vikings, the samurai, and the medieval knights. I mean, that whole mixture is just like drool worthy. But
Yeah, it's cool.
the combo thing, I mean, eventually you get in a tight spot, and I feel like I'm button mashing just a little bit. I can't memorize all that stuff. I don't know how people do it. Good on them, but eventually it gets tiring to me to have to memorize that stuff. Eek.
Yeah, it's tough. I remember I had my one move with the Orochi where I kind of fall back, and if somebody knew how to block that move, I was screwed. But if they didn't, I could just destroy them because I'd
Yeah,
run and be like, and then, like that. And then
yeah,
if they blocked, I was like, oh, I'm screwed. You win.
yeah.
You win
But
this one.
at 21, still a decent player base. I don't think you'd have to be too concerned about jumping in at any time. The one thing is it does try and match you with similar level players.
Which is hard because everybody's prestige like 5 times.
Yeah, so who knows? One that I'll probably hop into at some point to see what it's like yet. It does get pretty addicting. I'm sure Drew will want to give it a shot too. But Smite Battleground of the Gods, don't know much about it. It looks cool. The cover of it has like an Anubis guy with like a scythe.
Yeah, it's a MOBA, but it's from a third person perspective. So like League of Legends and stuff, but it's on the ground. Yeah, it's a cool game. Yeah, it's
Really?
nothing
Okay.
wrong with that. Yeah, I'm glad that Smite's still around
So
on
then,
Xbox.
yeah, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 sitting there at number 23, and Call of Duty World War II sitting at 24, which both great games. Black Ops 3 was decent. I've liked other versions more, but that one was better than some of the other developers' renditions. Like, what was the one we played? Call of Duty 4, Advanced Warfare, and then there was Advanced Warfare, and then there was the other one with like the dog K9 unit stuff.
Ghost,
Ghosts, yeah.
which should have been cool because it had the cool title and a dog, but it sucked.
It kind of was for a second, but
That's where I started checking on a Call of Duty because you were like, we got to get it. We got to get it. I remember I was working at Best Buy at the time and I like picked it up and I was like, all right, I'm buying this thing. And then I played it. I was like,
yeah, shit.
was it Sledgehammer? Was that?
I think so, something like that back then. I don't know.
But okay, you've gone through like these top almost 25. You didn't say Battlefield 5.
So number 24, Call of Duty World War II, which was a good game. I actually enjoyed that one quite a bit. I didn't have anybody to play with in that one, but I did like it. It was well done. So sitting at number 25, Battlefield 5, which is their latest Battlefield World War II. It's a good game. They introduced the Battle Royale, which great.
But they introduced it too late. I think that's the problem too with like these stuff. Like Battle Royale got introduced to Red Dead Redemption Online, and it felt like it was like a little too late. It should be there right at launch.
Kind of last to the table, right?
But yeah, it's like, but you said that, but you didn't see like Battlefront 2 is not on there. Like none of EA's games besides their sports games are cracking this. And again, this is Microsoft's we're looking at, but if we look at PlayStation, I'm sure it's pretty similar, if not lower, because of some of the more exclusive stuff. I don't know if they track that. It seems like it's more the online, but
yeah. Ubisoft has a better showing than EA, and without EA's ball games, they'd be in a pinch. But Battlefield 5 is a good game. I almost feel like it deserves a little more. Sometimes I feel like the guns in there, they need a little work, but the realism of it all is great.
The sound design and stuff.
Yeah, the sound design, the graphic quality, the way things look is on point. There's a lot of work that goes into those. And the Battle Royale actually isn't that bad. I had fun with it, but sometimes I feel like it's a little slow. Whereas in like Call of Duty, like if I want to get in a match, boom, it's like out and in, and you're not waiting for anything.
Yeah, I
It
like
was
kind of the
just done
pace of
right with that
that.
goal in mind, as opposed to Battlefield, where you could tell it's kind of here's this.
Yeah, I like the pace of Battlefield, and that's why, like, your wife like kind of got into it because like that game, you can take your time with it, and you can actually pretend like you're a real soldier. Like whereas
Yeah,
with Call of Duty, like we've always talked about, it's like you're dying and resurrecting and killing and resurrecting so many times that you never feel like I should worry about my person. But like in Battlefield, you're like I finally got to the point on the map I wanted to be, and then, like with a sniper rifle, like and you're like I've owned this moment. Like
oh
I want to
yeah,
stay alive, but.
yeah.
I just saw a thing pop up saying that Battlefield's getting like a new map and stuff. Okay, like that's great. I just don't know like what their player base is if it's good enough to like. It's obviously not comparing with Call of Duty. Even the next two Call of Duties, like the last two Call of Duties, seem to be doing just as well, if not better. You say Call of Duty World War II is on there, like
Yep.
that's crazy to me. It just it sucks because EA should see what like not only what COD's doing, but like you said with Ubisoft, they have a better showing. Ubisoft's got like 3 or 4 games that have been on running, but they've just been constantly putting money back into them to make sure people like them. And they also still do like Assassin's Creed, where they're like, hey, we're still doing like a big single player thing here, like either once a year or once every other year. And we're going to take that seriously as well and not just be like, hey, Assassin's Creed's now like games as a service, even though they have done where there's tons of DLC, tons of little add-ons and stuff to Assassin's Creed to be that way. Like the last Assassin's Creed, the campaign alone is like 60 hours long. Like that was just the single player campaign. I know because I was like, it took forever. And maybe that's because they also wanted me to like use real money to like speed up how I leveled up because they had a whole RPG system. But Ubisoft, I think they're doing it right. If Rainbow Six Siege, For Honor, and Division 2, like Division 2 should probably be higher up because
How
it
about
just came
Ghost
on.
Recon still sitting at 36 after
Dude,
3+ years?
yes, I have like re-fallen in love with Ghost Recon, but I'm so happy that like I still enjoy that game immensely, even playing alone. And
Yeah,
I hope Breakpoint, it's not going to stay at the top for long at all, but I'm just excited that like, see, Ubisoft gets it. They get it, man.
37 Monster Hunter World
Yes,
still
Monster
holding
Hunter.
on strong. A lot of the games ahead of them, besides like some of the Call of Duties, are much newer. So good on them, holding
Yeah.
on strong in the top 50, easy. Star Wars Battlefront 2 for EA is sitting at number 34 or 36. Yeah, 34. That's like the only Star Wars thing out there right now for people on game
And we're
consoles, right?
and we're so desperate. That's why, like, when we saw Jedi Fallen Order stuff, it's like, oh, thank
Yeah,
God, there's something else, and it's just like it's Respawn, right? Like EA, don't cripple this. Not that
yeah,
we talked about this too. I think BioWare was the problem for Anthem. I don't know if it's so much EA, because I think EA was like, hey, you guys said you were going to make this game for us, and it took forever, so it's going to ship when we say it's going to ship, regardless of what state it's in. But like Respawn, I think they still get it, and I just hope EA doesn't just chokehold them and ruin it. Because Star Wars is still, where it used to be, the biggest property on the planet, and now it's like for video games, we've got just Star Wars Battlefront 2 right now.
yeah.
Not great, man. Like, come on. Like, it's not like let other people make these games. Stop canceling these projects. It's like,
So look at this, Plants vs Zombies sitting down here at like number. I don't. This is going to 50 right now.
dude, but that game is
Um,
those games are fun. Those games are
yeah,
legit fun. Did
and
you
then
play
Call of
those?
Duty Black Ops 2 sitting in there at like 48. I
Dude,
mean,
that's
that's
yeah.
insane. That's a
That's
360 like backwards compatible deal right there.
That's because people love you get into one Call of Duty, and sometimes people just stay with that one, and they're like, "This is the one I play now."
Well, it was a well done Call of Duty. I remember it was a real good one. Now it's probably hard to play because it's probably pretty insane.
Those
But
Activision server farms
Activision,
must be like huge. Like, just imagine the servers that are still going for like older COD games. I'm sure some of them have shut down, but it's just like to think they're like, keep
oh
supporting
yeah,
it, keep supporting it, like keep
it's
putting money into it.
unreal. But yeah,
But
I mean that's kind of your top 50 rundown ish. I skipped over some.
oh,
Obviously,
it's
there's like
fine.
Skyrim in there, and Gears of War is in there, in like 30, 40 something, 40,
I,
39.
I just
So
wish I feel like the only company to really be doing killer right now with games as a service for me personally is Ubisoft. And that's just because I feel like they respect the fact that you put money in early and they give you a ton of stuff. Because Even with Ghost Recon, which is a game that's like 2 years old now, and they're still promoting it, and they obviously want you to play it and then get excited to buy the new one.
Yeah.
That to me is why I want to buy the new one, because I freaking love the base game, and I
And they're
see,
improving upon the base
yeah,
game
and
more so.
I look at it now and I'm like, yeah, there's some things that feel a little dated or things that could be better, but that's why I'm excited about this next one, and they keep me coming back for more. All right, they didn't like when Ghost Recon launched. I'm sure it had issues that I can't recall right now, but I never felt like, oh, it was really hard to group up or load into a map or do a mission. Like I never had that issue. It's like if you're gonna do a game that's like co-op based and have people consistently coming back to it, you have to make sure that everybody in that 4-person party is excited to come back to it, because if even one or two of them have issues, they start to drop like flies, because I'm like, why would I play Anthem by myself?
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah.
it's a cool game, great concept, but no. And then Battlefront. I love Star Wars, but I played the beta for the first one, and I was like, oh, it's just gonna be more of this. Not really interested.
No
Like,
thanks.
I'm like, sorry. And Battlefield, same boat. I'm just like, I just don't want. Also Star Wars. I love Star Wars. It looks so good and it sounds so good, but it still to me felt like Battlefield. So to
Yeah.
me, I was like, it does feel like a reskin a little bit. And Dice, you're so good. Everybody at Dice is so good. It wasn't for me. It wasn't the Battlefronts from my childhood that I really enjoyed playing. I just want EA to figure this out, because like Anthem, cool concept, but cool concepts only goes so far, I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, and all the hype around it. I mean, when you hype it up so much,
And we
and
were,
you get a bunch of people to bite on the hook, and then you just reel them in for
yep,
no reward. It's pretty lame.
pay those influencers basically, like come fly them out and be like, oh man. And you know what? The first few hours of Anthem is super fun, because you're like, man, I'm
Well,
flying
sure.
around. I'm Iron Man. I'm blowing stuff up. But then you get into like the 15, 20 hour mark and you're like, okay, I'm leveling up, but I don't have a skill tree. So like I'm getting stronger, but how do I know? Like my power level's going up. What's the difference between my armor and my shields? Like, just so weird. Like optimization of what you got, man. Like, and I
Yeah.
want Anthem to do well. I want Apex Legends to do well. I want there to be this competition. I want other people to look at Anthem and not look at the model of it, but look at the concept and say like, hey, it'd be really cool if we made more games with like 4-player co-op, big open worlds, and buddies get to hang out. Like there's a ton of those games now, but not to that level and polish. Because like you look at the game, insofar as the polish of like the actual look of stuff, like it looks great. It looks really good. It's the bugs that like kick you from the middle of a stronghold before you're about to cash out at the end, where you're like, screw it. That happens once or twice in a night, and you're like, I'm not playing this game anymore. Like
Yeah.
it's so frustrating. You're like, I just did this for a half an hour and I got kicked. Whatever. Like, see you later. Incentivize me to come back. Really give us something good. And I just don't know if they could do it. It's
I
too
don't
bad.
either. I don't either. The thing that's such a letdown is, yeah, it was so hyped, and it was like it seemed right up our alley, and the design is great, the look of it, and then the mechanics of playing it is in an iron suit like that is just awesome. But it just then it's like, yeah, so you did it. You're here. You played a little bit. That's all you get. Mm.
I don't think they'll do it, but every time I play that game, I often think if they make the Avengers game like this concept, I would be blown away, because I'm like floating around as my Storm and I'm thinking like, I'm Doctor Strange. And then you've got like someone as Hawkeye over like up on a perch. You got your Hulk and your Thor like in and amongst the fight. Like, how cool would that be to be taken on just like tons of people, and you're just like, yeah, or you're Captain America and you're running like third person with your shield and just knocking dudes over, throwing it, like flipping, catching it, like, or Black Panther with like your cool like explosion thing, or you're like jumping on people, bullets are just falling off of you. That's what I'm talking about. Like the concept is there, a third person action game with 4 buddies. I haven't seen it to fruition yet. Like Ghost Recon's kind of close, but it's not like frenetic action. And usually when the bullets are flying in that game, it kind of sucks, because you're like, I'm a real person in that game. You take a few bullets, you're like, I'm down because somebody shot me with a gun. You're like, that makes sense. That's what I want. I want this concept to work, and I want the Avengers game to be that. I doubt it's going to be that, but God, I wish it were. Oh, God, I wish it were, Joe. It could be so cool. Think of like as the Hulk Buster, like somebody's in the Hulk Buster, someone's Hulk, you're running along on the ground, just smashing things over.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's hard to put myself in their shoes and say, this is how you should have done it, and this is what they should do. There's little things here and there that you can, advise or add your 2 cents on, but I'm not going to create the game for them.
Yeah.
But that's the reason they're getting paid to do it or selling the game. So it's got to be more, guys. It's got to be a little more. Justify the $65, huh?
Yep, exactly. And thank you for mentioning that $65 because a lot of people are like, it's 60. No, with tax, at least here in the States, like 64, 20 something or 30 something.
Yeah.
It's like that adds up because like let's say you buy a couple of games throughout the year if you're lucky to, or if you have the funds to do it, like that right there means you're not going to buy one more game, or you bought Anthem and you're like, man, I got burned. I kind of put my money into this. And people just talk about the Division 2. And that's the thing. When we get to Division 2, and I think it's going to be this summer when it drops to like $30. If it does, like we'll get in there and be like, man, we paid half the price for this. We didn't feel like we had to do it with anyone else. And like when everyone was playing it at the time, because it's player versus environment that we're more interested in as opposed to the player versus player. And we'll feel like almost vindicated for waiting. It's like, man, I got so much stuff and so many cool things for half the price. Cool. Like it'll be like, it'll feel good. You'll be like,
I don't think it's going to drop too much. I think based on its popularity and how well it's doing, I'd be willing to bet it sticks around that maybe 45, 50, 50-ish range. I think it's full price still right now. It's still somewhat fresh, so I get that. But I don't know that we're going to see a half price for like maybe this time next year.
I never know with video games because sometimes it's like they hold that price. Like Red Dead is going to stay. It usually stays at like the Rockstar games stay at like 60 forever. But like some of these other ones, especially if they're games as a service ones, they drop it like 6 months in because they're like, hey, our player base is kind of going down a little bit. Let's see if we can refresh it by saying, hey, it's half price. This is the best time to hop in. We just added all this DLC that you have included in this Game of the Year edition or whatever it is. And you're like, okay. Like that's how you sweeten the pot. You're like, oh, it's $30 and you get all this other stuff. Now we're talking.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see if there's enough in-game, what's the word?
Content?
Microtransactions. Like if there's things to buy, then I see them dropping the price. But if not, then there's no incentive for them to,
They've got it. Ubisoft and I think every game now, even Assassin's Creed, which is a single-player game, is like they're going after, and that's what scares me a little bit about their single player offerings is like if they make them purposefully longer and frustrating where it's like you have to do all the side missions to do the next story mission because they're like, or you can just pay some money and you can level up faster. That starts to get a little like a little greasy and slimy. It's like, oh gosh, like seriously, I like Assassin's Creed a lot, and I've been obviously I like these games. But it was just such a long flipping game. I was like, please just end. Like, I just want to do the story missions and I want to go home. Like, I was like, oh God. And the map was it was too big. Sorry guys, your maps are getting too big. Like it's insane. Like I'm supposed to traverse this whole thing. But anyway, sorry. EA, I just say take a page out of Ubisoft and hopefully you can learn in the future. But I'm not really hopeful for any of their things besides their sports games for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Joe, believe it or not, we talked about that longer than I thought we were going to. Just a brief little 45-minute discussion about that. But we're just going to move into that segment of the show that I like to call, that you like to call, that we like to call
Timekillers.
That's right. It's time for Timekillers. It's the games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, the TV shows we've been viewing. Mr. Lever, what have you been killing time with, buddy?
Oh, man. What have I been killing time with?
I know it's the question I've had too because I've been so busy with work. I sat down to play Nier Automata today for this stream, and I was like, I don't know if I played a game for like a week. Like I was like, it felt weird. I was like, man, I haven't really.
Well, I'm hoping that next week, this time, I'm able to say like Red Dead. But
yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, There's really nothing else on my radar. I've been playing Blackout, and what have I been watching? Anything?
Any
Oh,
TV shows?
I recently watched last night when I got back from traveling. I watched Triple X: The Return of Xander Cage, and as I watched it, I mean, I'm literally laughing out loud at how ridiculous everything that happens in that movie is, and how cheesy, corny it is. I'm like, who even thought that this should be a movie? And is there any practicality at all? Like, I literally, the whole thing is laughable.
Have you seen it before? I forget.
No, I mean, I think I've seen the one with
Oh,
Ice Cube in it, which wasn't the absolute worst, but still not good.
Spoilers are turned on. Just go.
Spoilers on, dude. Vin Diesel climbs up a radio tower when we first meet him, and he goes up there to steal a cable box. The cops are like, "Hey, what are you doing? Get down from there!" And he's like, "Whatever, bro." And he turns around after getting the thing and putting it in his backpack, and just magically, there's a pair of skis like hanging on the tower. He clips into them with his like special sneakers, and then he just like free falls and jumps off the edge and hits the freaking rainforest floor and starts skiing down the hill.
So, but he had to go place those, or someone had to place the skis up there
originally.
Like,
I know. They weren't on his feet, or they didn't just grow out of his shoes, and because they show him stomp into him up there. And then it goes from, you can tell it's not him. Somebody actually did go down like a leafy slope and do some tricks and whatnot, but you can see during that sequence that there's somebody wearing ski boots, like legit ski boots, going down the hill. And then it goes back to him at the bottom, and he's wearing his weird sneakers. It shows his feet, and then it cuts back, and he steps out with his sneakers. And I'm like, oh my God. And then he's on a little skateboard doing his freaking downhill bull crap. I'm just like, oh. And then every bit of dialogue in there is cringeworthy.
Wait, but why did he do all of this? Why did he do this top secret mission?
Because he wanted the cable box to bring to the people in the little village he was staying at and let them watch soccer because he's a good person.
Yep. Just to remind everybody that nowadays, as of the recording of the show, Vin Diesel is a ripe 51. So seeing a man in his late 40s at the time, probably, or whatever, was it last year, on a skateboard, rolling down, like, bald, just like, and jumping off a car, like, just skidding off, like, he's what is it called, like, skitching, where you hold onto the back of a truck or a vehicle and you just, like, kind of hold on. That movie is hilarious, but I love it because it's in that Fast and Furious, like, realm where you have Donnie Yen, who's this bad guy in the beginning, and he's, like, looking off this building, and he's looking towards another building, runs and jumps probably like 40 or 60 feet through glass, lands, like, rolls up, totally fine, no broken legs or anything.
Everything that happens in there is not plausible, man. Whatever.
Nope. And I love, though, did you notice this, Joe? And I think I talked about it when I saw it, but his fight scenes, I think they have like a pretty steady camera for the most part. But when they go to that other fight in the building there's like this fight between two guys in like an office room, and it's just shaking the whole time because like clearly neither of them is like a really good martial arts expert. Like Donnie Yen is like incredible, and that's why I like that movie, because he's in it and he's so good. Like he's such a good fighter. I just like to watch him work. He's got like the jacket and he's like throwing it at people and just dropping everybody. It's like, I like this dude.
Like, Eva Dobrev is in there, and she's in the middle of like jamming some signal at this little power panel.
I forgot. She's like so.
And she turns and she's like, "Oh my God!" And she like takes a guy down, and then a couple more are coming in. She's like, and she trips and drops the gun, and somehow the trigger is stuck, so it just sits there and sprays at them and kills them both. And she's like, "This is awesome!" I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, she's horrible in that. Like, it makes her in Vampire Diaries look like amazing, and it's like a modern day Austin Powers, because like every woman finds Triple X the most attractive. Like, she is freaking out when she meets him. She's like, "Oh my God, like, you're the guy," and it's like,
yeah.
But the thing is, they kind of play it for serious. Like in Austin Powers, like, he is not like that attractive, but some women go for him. But he's just like, it's a joke. Like the whole thing is a joke.
I get it, and that makes it kind of fun.
But this one is like, he's like, "Oh yeah, my coat," you know. And there's like all these, like, he wants to be with this one woman, but no, he's probably slept with like these 20 women tonight. It's just like,
Exactly.
It's like, no, like, I don't know. And I think it's part of the joke. But then Ice Cube showing up later on with his rap playing as he grenade launchers a bunch of dudes.
Probably the
So
best moment in the whole thing. I thought it was awesome.
I like the part when he does the whole, like, he puts his hands up and he does this or whatever, or he kind of does that
Oh,
and he
that was actually
shoots.
kind of cool. Read
I,
between the lines, and
he
he's like,
re- I also love Ruby Rose because she immediately endears herself to me because she's out there and like they're trying to get the team together. I always love this, and they're trying to get a team together, showing what the team is doing by themselves. And she's like out there, like scoped up on a lion, but then she looks over at these people on safari, just like these horrible people who are trying to hunt these things, and she's shooting them. And then you hear the lion go like take him out, and she's just like. But she's doing like this Cirque du Soleil, like wrap herself up in a sniper thing, like in the tree. She's like, and then she's like, I'm in position of like, are you? Like, how are you gonna get out of that? Like,
you're knotted up in the top of a tree. One person spots you, it's over.
Is it weird that I get sad when I watch Donnie Yen smoke? Because I'm like, I hope you're not really smoking because you're such a talented dude and you're a little bit older, and I don't want you to like ruin your cardiovascular system because you're such a good fighter. Like, I like watching you work. Like, yeah.
I mean, the whole like plane intercepting the satellite, and he magically finds a freaking crate that fell out of the back of the plane, the land.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh god, you do. And then it's just enough to like slow him down when he lands. It's like, this is an Uncharted, pal. Like, like,
you know what made me mad? The guy from the guy who plays the Hound from Game of Thrones is in there as the driver. Always puts the mouth guard in. He says, "That's crash number 199 or whatever."
Oh yeah.
Like, what the freaking heck are we doing?
I hate that's one
and
thing.
They turn him into a buffoon. Like at one point, he charges the enemy and gets shot twice, and then they has to be drugged back. And the guy's like, "Yeah, I devised the plans. You just follow what I say." And,
yeah, I don't like when they have like one random on the team that's just like, he's the crazy guy. We need him because he's nuts. And you're like, do you? Like, even in Ocean's 11, they didn't have like a guy who's just like the insane guy who's just like, Danny, we're gonna make a lot of money, and it's just like, no.
Who doesn't do anything but drive. So I was kind of let down by that. I was like, oh, why'd you take this role?
Ruby Rose has that moment too with that other, is it like the cop or another lady where
where they stand back the back and do this, and they're looking one way but shooting both, and
I
have no clue what they're shooting over here, but there's something.
It looks cool. I was like, you know what, that reminds me of like
shit. They don't
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but it's not like one of those pandering like watch the ladies kill everyone moments. It's like they're all outgunned in that moment, and they're all just like, let's just be as cool as we can, and they're just like, just shoot as many people as you can. Like,
all those military guys can't hit them worth a darn. They're in the middle of the freaking yard.
Or shoot Ice Cube, who's standing up and above, and you can see him with the grenade launcher. And
but he totally took him by surprise. They were just blowing up left and right.
I guess so. Like, he probably set up his boombox, and he's like, he put in his mixtape, and he's like, this is gonna be dope, and he's like, pop it on. He's like, yeah, that's my favorite tune that I sang or rapped. And just doom, doom. I never saw that second one. Heck, I didn't even see the first Triple X. So when I saw this in theaters, I was like, I still kept up. I was like,
you saw it in theaters?
I think so. I saw it with a buddy. The beginning with Samuel Jackson and that guy, that soccer player. And he's like, yeah, you should be Triple X. I'm like, okay, he's gonna be Triple X because he's good at soccer and has fast reflexes. But then they blow up and they don't blow up.
Yeah,
stupid. But it's a dumb movie, but the movie knows at least it kind of knows that it's dumb. It doesn't know it's dumb like Austin Powers.
I hope it didn't make money. It didn't deserve it.
Do you want to take a guess?
No, I don't want to take a guess. Just tell me it flopped, please.
All right. So I want to clarify.
Did they greenlight another one?
It's just they probably if it made any money at all anymore, I feel like they just greenlight it. They're like, yep. Oh no, Joe, you're not gonna like this. All right. Budget. $85 million worldwide, $346 million. It definitely turned a profit. So let's get, okay, here's my question. How'd it do in China? I'm sorry, I always ask. Oh my God. So you put Donnie Yen in it, and I think that helps. And they also had that DJ from like Korea or something. Didn't they have some guy in there who's like he's like that guy they put him in?
There's some DJ guy, but is he really a DJ?
I don't know. All I know is that it made $164 million in China. that's like the star power of like bring Donnie Yen. Also on the cover, it's Donnie Yen holding two guns and looking jacked. Like for me, that's a selling point. I'm like, freaking Donnie Yen, let's freaking do this. Like domestically, $45 million, so not super good here in the States. We're like, we've seen all this before, but they knew to kind of flush out that cast. It's kind of like the Meg. Remember, they like took place in China, but it wasn't like really in China or about China, but it was like it's in China. Like, yeah, man, $164 million. It made enough in China to justify the price, like of it alone. That's nuts. Anyway, so you watched. Did you have any fun with it? This is my question.
A little bit, enough that I watched it to the end, but it was laughable at most moments.
Isn't it that Donnie Yen is actually he's an anti-hero and he was Triple X
and kind of comes around at the end.
The government was like the government was actually bad the whole time.
Yeah.
Whatever. I like Donnie Yen a lot. He's if you haven't watched IP Man or Ip Man, there's 3 of them, but just watch for the fight scenes. Just Google the fight scenes. They're so good. Rotten Tomatoes 46%, Metacritic 42%. If you care about that at all.
Too high.
Yeah. For me, it's just been more Frasier. Did Daphne find out that Niles has been affectionate towards her for 6 years, or has feelings for her? Maybe. It's a great show. Yeah, I still love it, even though I've seen pretty much all of it. It's still just the writing on that show, man. So witty. So good. And David Hyde Pierce, the more I watch it, I've always loved Kelsey Grammer, probably the most. David Hyde Pierce as Niles, he's just so good.
He's good too.
He's such a talented actor and a comedian, but he's also so good with the physical comedy. Like he just embodies that character. And it's just so well realized. That whole cast, I really dig. But yeah, cool. All right, Joe. Well, let's wind her down here. Just cresting over an hour. We're going to talk about my favorite things, which are the community feedback and questions from our Legionnaires. Joe, I put it out there. I asked people, I just want to know what their favorite animated Disney characters were, just because Aladdin came out this week. Have you seen any reviews for it?
No.
I don't know how it's tracking either. I haven't seen it. I was curious to see. Oh, that's tricky. Let's just look this up quick. I'm sorry if you don't want Aladdin box office spoilers or whatever.
I want to know.
Let's see. Right now we're tracking at 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.4 on IMDb. And it just came out the other day, so it's probably not, we don't know box office crazy, but we know that first weekend. Right now it's looking like it had a budget, holy crap, 183 million. That's pretty good. So far, domestically, 112 million, and foreign, 121 million. So it brings it to 233 million so far. It doesn't mean it's a full success yet, because remember, we look at the budget of the film and usually double it for marketing, which Disney is known to do a lot of. So we're looking at the $266 million mark. So a little ways to go. But even though I think it debuted in first this weekend, I don't think it's not crushing it.
Well, it's Memorial Day weekend, so in the U.S. it's probably not. There's those diehard Disney people, which are an automatic.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
It's a little tough, right?
In the Midwest here, it's a little weird because usually like weekends like this do really well because like it's like, oh, cool, it's like a fun thing and we have vacation time. But if it's nice out, we're not going to be in the theaters that much. Like it's just like, oh, cool, still summer blockbusters for sure, but the first big good weekend, usually people are out and about. Yeah, so here's what they wrote in. Ryan Lehman says the genie from Aladdin can't beat Robin Williams. Fair enough. And then Andrew Misselmage jokingly said Yoda. Doesn't count, but then he wrote another one. He said, serious answer, I really like Mushu. He's the perfect mix of comic relief and heartwarming for a sidekick character. I completely agree. I think for a long time, Genie and Mushu have been like my 2 favorite like animated Disney characters. I think, even though Eddie Murphy gets a little much for me sometimes, I still think that he's good. Joe, I think we talked about this in the past. Do you have like a favorite like animated Disney character? No?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I don't know.
Does any come to mind? I like Robin Hood, by the way, too. I love the anthropomorphic fox who can use a bow and arrow. Something really cool about that to me. It's a red wall all over again.
Animated Disney character. Huh. Maybe something from Lion King.
Scar. Scar's pretty good.
Scary. I like
I
the
lo-
hyenas.
I've I've always liked that Scar was like one of the few Disney villains to get like an on-screen kill. Like I know it sounds kind of sick, but I like the fact that like most of the other villains are like really threatening, but they never actually do anything, and then they're dumb at the end and die. But, like Scar like had a plan, won the day, and then like had the repercussions of that, which is
Yeah.
cool because you don't usually see the villain win at like the midpoint, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I like that. Like, it's not like Snow White. She got the apple at like midway through, and it was like the Wicked Queen was the prettiest in the land for like 10 years. She's like, I'm so pretty. Like, yeah, they didn't do that. Anyway, question comes in here from Missile Mage. He says, with recent articles saying that there won't be an actor playing Indiana Jones after Harrison Ford, is there any famous character you like that is known for being played by a certain actor that you would like to see played by someone else? He said, personally, I'd love to see Dwayne Johnson as Terminator. I completely agree with that. I think it's too weird to have Arnie still around. Bring in Dwayne Johnson, just dun 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 dun, just like the dude just ripping out of a shirt, just like walking around. I think he'd make it for a good Terminator. Do you agree?
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
I think he'd be good, or put him into Predator movie. Bring somebody into Predator that like is cool. Like, I'm sorry, like give me someone like put him in all the Arnie roles. He'd be a great Terminator. Missile Mage, high five. Yeah, we were talking about that beforehand. Yeah, Harrison Ford just saying that they won't do it. I don't believe that for a second. I think Disney will wait until he dies and then they will recast him. Like, I'm so sorry. I don't think they won't do that. Famous character. It's hard nowadays because like ones that jump to mind right away, I think of like Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow. I liked Captain Jack back in the day, but I wouldn't want to see someone else try to play that role.
No one could ever fill those shoes. I mean,
Yeah.
started out great, didn't end so great, but was great for the first few,
Yeah, and superheroes is hard too because I feel like my favorite superheroes have been from Marvel, and right now for me it's so hard. Even though I know John Krasinski was up for the role, but like I can't see anyone besides Chris Evans being Captain America for like decades because like he's just like, or Robert Downey Jr. as Tony, like anyone else as Tony Stark. It'd be like,
and that's all due to how Disney/Marvel set them up, and
yeah, for sure.
I mean they made those roles. They made it so. They did such a good job, and just the fine tuning and the you know what I mean. I mean they embedded them in your mind, and the story was just so good and so well done that they could do no wrong.
Question though, did you hear about the fan petition, like 16,000 signatures to get Danny DeVito to be the new Wolverine? It's like, it's not gonna happen.
Laughable.
I think it's like, if they didn't get him in as Detective Pikachu, then it's not gonna happen. But there's one, like, I know so many people love Hugh Jackman. I do too. If he wouldn't have been Venom, I really would have loved to see Tom Hardy play Wolverine.
Yeah.
I think he would have made for he can do that role. Like, he can do any role. He's very talented. I just think he would have been great. I'm trying to think of other ones because like Terminator is kind of ongoing. So I'm trying to think of other like mainstays like that could keep, going throughout time. Who else? I feel like there's a really strong option here. That Dwayne Johnson Terminator one is still like the best one. That's so freaking good. Thank you. Another one that I've been hearing about too, I would love to see. I always forget the guy's name from Nip Tuck, the guy who played Doctor Doom.
Oh gosh.
Look him up.
Julian
something. Julian Jules. Julian Nip Tuck. Julian McNamara?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
No, that was his name in the show, McNamara, right?
No, that's Julia McNamara.
Julian.
Who
cares? Julian
McMahon.
Yeah.
Julian McMahon. I would like to see the guy who played Lucius Malfoy play Doctor Doom. I saw someone pop that up recently too. You remember Lucius Malfoy, right, Joe?
Sure. Yeah.
long blonde hair. Like he'd be a good Doc. Who? I know we always talk about like who could like recast because I think superheroes are the easiest ones. So maybe I shouldn't like look at say like who could be the new Professor X. Dang, I can't think of any other good ones. So many
Professor X, the guy who played him, Patrick Stewart. I mean, come on, who could ever?
I know, and Magneto is another hard casting call because like I absolutely adore Ian McKellen. He is the greatest living actor in my mind because he can do it all. However, if I had to recast my boy Magneto, you cast a little younger but still old.
Sure, I like the mature Magneto.
Yeah, because I want him to be like Scarlet Witch's dad. I'm sorry we're doing this live, but it's more fun this way, I think. Oh, I typed in Magneto replacement and I got a bunch of tool stuff. I was like, what's happening here?
That's funny.
Yeah, let me actor. I want to come up with like a list for people. But people will say Ray Fiennes as Professor X, the guy who played Voldemort. Remember him? No-Nose?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and people are saying Jason Isaac, the guy who did play Lucius Malfoy as Magneto. I don't think he'd be bad either, honestly. I don't think he would be bad at all. Anyway, are there any other big, like, kind of, besides superheroes, Joe, that you can think of, like Terminator, that have persisted through time as, like, one person that they just kind of keep bringing back in? Like, Indiana Jones is a perfect one, where that's when it's kind of off the table. You can't really recast anybody in Star Wars because, like, that just can't happen. Like, people would lose their minds if they're like, we're recasting Luke Skywalker and rebooting Star Wars.
The DC universe, like, I wouldn't want to see another Henry Cavill.
Yeah. If you had to pick a new Superman, though, who would you pick?
I wouldn't want to.
But you have to.
They cast that role very well.
I know, it's so hard.
I mean, there are people that have that look, but
yeah, it's
more than anything, they just need to improve the writing for him and whatnot.
Yep, maybe let them smile a little bit more here and there.
They need a little new blood in the DC directing, and the fingers pulling the strings and whatnot.
Why do I keep seeing Armie Hammer's name everywhere for stuff? It's like he's the new Batman. He could be Superman. It's like Armie Hammer. I've only ever seen him. I'm sure he's been in tons of other stuff, but I only ever saw him in Lone Ranger. Like, that was the only one that I ever saw. You know what I'm talking about? No?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't think of a better one than that. The Terminator one is just too good. I was trying to think of, like, there's RoboCop and Judge Dredd and some other people like that, but it's mostly, like, from the visor down, like, as far as acting goes. And I think Carl Urban was such a good Judge Dredd, and that's why I wish he were Batman. Like, if I could get Carl Urban as Batman, I totally would do it. But, yeah, Indiana Jones, by the way, if you had to replace Indiana Jones, it wouldn't be Chris Pratt, but who would it be? I think one that I like a lot from White Collar, and I saw his name pop up a few times here for superheroes, but Matt Bomer. He's this kind of, if you guys have ever seen White Collar, he plays this guy named Neil Caffrey, who is this, like, amazingly good spy, or not spy, but criminal. Nice chiseled jawline. I think he'd look good. He looks good in a fedora. He's already proven that. Yeah. I think he'd be really good at that. Do you know who I'm talking about, Joe?
No.
Look him up. Look him up quick. Look him up quick. Matt Bomer. I'm telling you, he's good. Also, Michael Rosenbaum as Professor X. No, I'm just kidding. It's just shave him, but people would be blown away. They'd be like, "It's too weird. It's too weird." Yeah, look up Matt Bomer, everybody at home, if you haven't yet. He also would have been an okay Superman too. I've seen people Photoshop his head onto Superman.
Could be.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But he could be a good Indiana Jones. Just saying.
Good. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that they could kind of make fit that role. Shia LaBeouf, he was training him as a protege. Get him in there.
No, they'll never do. The joke is, like, his name was Mutt in that, so, like, they'd have to rename it, like, Mutt Jones. Like, yeah, I need 4 tickets for Mutt Jones, please. Like, please, I want to see Shia LaBeouf swing with the monkeys. Like, oh my gosh, I couldn't. What were they thinking? Spielberg, I'm so I don't know. Like Shia LaBeouf was like they were gonna make him like super duper famous, but then they just. Also, I feel bad because the guy who played him, Tyler Hoechlin in Superman, who played Superman in Supergirl, I thought he was okay as Superman.
Yeah, sure, okay.
I didn't think he was bad.
I didn't think he was bad either.
I think that look of Superman is the thing you have to get on point, but now we can make anybody look like anybody else. So, like, just take any good actor and make them have short hair that's got the wave to it, and you're like, all right, you're doing it. But yeah, it's so hard for me not to think about superhero films. But Harrison Ford, if he doesn't think anybody's going to play Indiana Jones after he dies, for sure, that's fine. I just think that they would recast eventually because they'll
reboot that whole thing,
or they'll just give him like a new son. They'll be like, hey, you actually had another son you didn't know about. Like that. They'll just be like, it's not Mutt. Mutt's dead. Like Mutt became a communist or something. Yeah, that's how they'd end. That's how they end Mutt Jones. All right. Anyway, that'll do it for us here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show as we just kind of rambled on trying to figure out, who could replace Harrison Ford. Nobody. I wouldn't want to see them replace Indiana Jones. I should say that too. I think that portrayal, especially in Raiders of the Lost Ark and in The Last Crusade, is just so good. He's so likable and fun, and but there's layers to the guy. Like he's a rough and tumble, but he's also kind of a dandy boy. Like he's a professor. He's got classes. He's sneaking out of school. Like everybody wants to be with old Indy, even though we will say this, he's kind of a thief when you start to think about it. He's like, that belongs in a museum. It's like somebody's, like some culture's preserved idol, and he's like going to steal it from a temple, and he's like, this belongs in some stuffy museum because it just does. So yeah, I love Raiders. Just go watch Raiders. Raiders is one of the best films of all time. Anyway, if you enjoyed the show, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast and let us know. You can tweet at our official account on Twitter at GoCritical. It's capital G and a capital C. Or tweet at me personally. I am at JimmyGit013. But if you'd like to tweet at Mr. Lever, you can tweet at
Lever_627. Lever, just like Beaver, only with an L.
And if you'd like to tweet at Levi, you can tweet at Levi Fletcher. Tweet him a cute dog meme.
Levi like the jeans. FLETCHER.
And if you are Ryan or anybody else who's interested in just tweeting a hashtag to let us know you watched this specific episode, you can tweet the hashtag Dwayne for Terminator.
Oh, that's DWAY.
No, do not. No, DWA. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I still think he would make. I think The Rock just adds so much to any movie he's in. Usually,
he does. I mean, there are some pretty mediocre films that he does himself,
for sure.
And like something about his charisma, people are like, "I'm going to see it."
Baywatch, Skyscraper,
yeah,
The Race to Witch Mountain. I'm sure. Like,
yeah, right.
I never saw it, but I like him so much.
Jumanji was better than I expected.
Jumanji, like my expectations were like. And then, like, the four of them, even though Kevin Hart gets annoying, like, I like Karen Gillan, who plays Nebula. She was great. She was, like a Black Widow. And Jack Black, man, props to that dude for being like, hey, you need to be in this movie and constantly make fun of your own physique and pretend that you're a teenage girl. Like, good stuff, man. Some good comedy in there. Oh, yeah.
Jack Black has always been good. Like, some of the roles he plays, he just,
he's full into it. Also, Jumanji, like Welcome to the Jungle, is such a huge departure from like the first Jumanji in so many ways. Like the first Jumanji is like pretty serious and dark, and like Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle is just like, let's just scream and blow stuff up, and it's a video game, and like but they'll make a sequel. It's on the way.
Yeah, they made it more relatable for the millennials.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the millennials. Like, what's the generation below us, Jimmy? Not millennials, but
Generation X.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Is that what it is? I thought you meant below millennial. Yeah. But anyway, if you want to support the show, consider buying a shirt just like this one over on our Spreadshirts, or donating to us on patreon.com, or subbing to us on Twitch. That'd be great. Or just sharing us around. That helps too. Either way, thank you so much, Joe, for being here as we just kind of rambled this week. It was fun. It was just nice, loose structure. Just chilling. Let us know if you guys like this sort of show versus more of like a, all right, we're going here, 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 and here. But
yeah, this was a little more shoot from the hip, but it was good. It was good.
Fun. We had a good time. Either way, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. And until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome. Bye-bye.